Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Game Reviews. In this episode, we're going to talk about Blue Reflection Second Light. Blue Reflection Second Light is developed by Gust and published by Koei Tecmo, or Tecmo, sorry. It was released in Japan on October 21st, 2021, and then US and Europe on November 9th of 2021 on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. This is a role-playing game, an RPG, more like a kind of in the lines of a JRPG, and it's basically about students lost in memories, and they magically appear in this school, and they don't know how they get there, and they lose all their memories, and they gotta figure everything out. So this is their adventure. So we're gonna go around and see what everybody thought of this game, and let's see here where we want to start here. Let's go ahead and start with Shane. Let's get that over with, Shane.
It sucked. Pat, what about you? It is.
Thanks, Ollie.
We discussed this game a little bit, so don't get down by my first portion of this, but it sucks ass. I did not like the combat. The characters are dead-eyed anime girls. I mean, literally, their eyes like never change. Kicked one in the boob, eyes never changed. I don't like the combat. I don't care for the story. I don't care for the characters. I don't care for pretty much anything in the game. The graphics are mediocre. I'd say just above mediocre. We'll give it that. There's really not much about this game that I could give any credence to. I just can't get into the game at all. I don't like it. I got fairly far because we had a good chunk of time where we could play, and I had some time off for Thanksgiving. So I got quite a bit into it, and I don't like it. It's so boring. It's literally, I hit start and then I'm ready to go to bed. I think the thing that gets me the most though is the eyes on the girls. Your starting characters are all just, it's just annoying. I'm a huge anime fan. There's no life in those eyes. None. It's just sad. The story it's M. Night Shyamalan meets JRPG. It's crap. I don't like it at all. But let's go to Pat before I, crap too hard on it. I might need to wipe. So Pat, what about you? What do you think? Contradict me.
I love it. It's JRPG. It's right up my alley. I love JRPGs, and it's pretty good. I will admit that the eyes thing took me a while to get used to. They all look like they have hay fever. Their eyes all blood. They all have red puffy eyes and red puffy nose and mouth. It's like the artist got too overzealous with the airbrush for the eyes and stuff. But they clear that up. Like the last half of the characters that you unlock don't have that problem. It's just like the initial 4 or 5, and you're like, what's up with this? I played on the Switch, so my graphics are probably a little bit worse than your guys' since you guys played it on the PlayStation. I'm about to see what it looks like on there to compare it, but I played it on the Switch. But I liked it. The combat was pretty interesting. I liked the spin up and spin down type combat that they have based on your resource pool and how much you can gain versus when the enemy meets your resource pool. So I thought it was kind of a cool concept. And then there's cool concepts about building out the schoolyard and making it better. And then the story was pretty interesting. You're going through and you're like, okay, this is pretty cool. These girls can fight, those can't. What's going on here? And so it's a pretty interesting story. I don't know how far I've gotten into it. Everything I've read online gives it an estimated 30 to 55 hours worth of gameplay, depending on your completionist. And I have a lot of scroll moments in the game where you're like, oh, I need to go do this next mission, but I need to go hang out with that girl, or I need to go build that, or I need more of those materials, or I got this, there's so many, it's got a lot of scroll moments in it. So, and I am a sucker for side quests, and I sometimes get stuck doing a lot of those, and I realize, oh, it's been 2 hours and I haven't touched the main storyline. Go back and do that. So I really enjoyed it. I never played the first one. So I probably need to, because from what I understand, the two stories tie together. That's kind of a play on words, because the Japanese title of the game is Blue Reflection Tie, TIE. So I don't know why the whole thing is like that. I don't know what that's about. So at least that's my understanding, is that they've listed as two titles. Was the original one called Tie, or is I don't know. Whenever you're on the Japanese website, all I ever saw was Blue Reflection Tie, and it referred to Tie and Second Light as the same game. So I don't know if it really is, because it says Blue Reflection Tie or Blue Reflection Second Light. So I'm like, well, which is it, guys? So, but I understand that the Tie name kind of ties more into the first game, and it's a word play on the Japanese side of things. So I don't know. I enjoyed it. I wanted to play more of it. I played quite a bit of it this weekend. But Nick, what'd you think, man? What were your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I liked it too. I enjoyed this game. I didn't have an issue with the eye thing. I mean, that I didn't even come to my mind at all. So I must have been playing a different version than you guys. Must have had the 1.2 version. Because you guys are talking about it, I'm like, I don't know, they seem fine to me. I guess I'm just not paying attention. Maybe I'm looking at other things. But anyway, yeah, I think
I'll make sure for the thumbnail that I get one of the deadpans where she's just.
Yeah, the only one that deadpans is Yuki. She deadpans all the time, but.
Oh, Ao and Yuki and Rina, they just...
No, I don't know. I mean, sometimes, but they seem more lifelike than some other games I've played. But regardless, I really did enjoy this game. I like the combat. I like the whole mixing up combos and, instead of just bashing the X button to attack, you want to look to see what they're weak to or they're resistant to, and putting on different status effects, and then who you have on your support side, and getting their ether, which is basically like the gauge that they can basically how many times they can attack. It goes up as you hit each mark. There's like a bar with marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. As you hit each one and do an attack, you can raise that up to level 2, level 3. They call them gears in the game, kind of like a manual or something. But and as you get to maybe we can go into specifics about that, but I like that because you can build that up, and as you build that up, you get better abilities, and you can also do abilities more than once, and all sorts of cool stuff like that. And then like Patrick said, back at the school, you can craft healing and you have food basically to use, consumables to basically able to heal yourself, or you can put other stat bonuses besides healing, like maybe it gives you a defense boost when you eat it, and attack boost, or whatever the case may be. And you'll find yourself wanting to collect things that are out in the world, because you'll need a lot of that recovery stuff. You'll want to start crafting the crap out of that stuff because you're going to need it, because the enemies are not very forgiving. And you do have a lady with a magic with a cure ability, but it sucks unless you get it powered up. Then it's not too bad. But at first it's like 10 health, and you're like, no, I need more than that. But ultimately, yeah, I found the story very interesting too. Like you get, I don't know, for me, you get really pulled into the story right from the beginning, because your character and the characters are just put into this place and they have no idea what's going on, and neither do you as the player. And you start to slowly unravel what's going on, and it's still, but as you slowly unravel things, it's still kind of a mystery at the same time. But you're just getting little pieces here and there of these different things. So you're trying to figure stuff out, and there's a lot of mysteries and a lot of like Patrick said, there's a lot of side activities. I found myself going back to the school to create more health potions. And I'm like, oh, this person wants to talk to me. Well, let me just go do that. And I find myself in the school for like 30 minutes doing stuff instead of going back into the dungeon. But yeah, ultimately, I really enjoy this game. And yeah, I think it's a good game. Do you guys want to go into more specifics about some of the fighting, like the gear system and the changing outfits thing, the Sailor Moon parts and stuff?
And that's fine. But before we go on, Pat, how in the hell did he not notice some goddamn guys? That has been
Nick doesn't like anime.
He used to.
I like anime.
I've seen his browser history. He likes hentai.
I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, because that's the first thing I noticed, that all of them looked like they had glaucoma and hay fever because their eyes were all like grayed over. And I don't know if that's part of the story because they're all kind of, but even Ao had that, and she's supposed to have all of her memories, or the majority of her memories, I should say.
And she was the newest one there too. So it's not like she's been stuck in the hayfield all week.
I didn't think, I saw a little bit of like kind of reddited, like pinkish tint with the white of their eyes. But like, what's that one girl, the fifth one that you get, Shihori, or what's her name?
Oh,
Saori?
Yeah. There's
Sayori or something like that. Yeah, I think Sayori.
There's Shiara Hinako.
Ciara?
Yeah, Ciara.
Sounds right.
Shiari.
Anyway,
Shiara, yeah.
She didn't seem to have that though.
Did. She didn't have it near like the other one, but her eyes still had no life.
But I wonder if that, like Patrick was saying, if that has some sort of aspect into the story, right? I mean,
so
plus we don't know how
long. Antihistamine?
Well, I mean, you don't know what's going on. I mean, they're kind of put into the Truman Show. It almost feels like, but you just don't know what's going on. It's a very big mystery. Maybe their eyes are that way because of where they're at.
Shyamalan. That's what they're doing to us.
So yeah, we get into some of the mechanics, I think. But yeah, I mean, the eye thing threw me off, but it quickly became like past whenever, because you only really see that when you're in the school and you're having the weird dialogue conversations and picking because you get to pick like your dialogue choices sometimes when you, what they call go on a date with the other girl. So really it's just hanging out with girls, hanging out, being girlfriends or whatever, but they call it go on a date. So probably just some translation thing. I liked all the mechanics except for one. And can anybody guess what mechanic I really disliked in this game?
Stealth.
Yes, I really hate the stealth in this game because that's how they make it difficult. And then a lot of the secondary side missions, you have to stealth through them. They're like, oh, there's too many. Let's stealth through this. And you can't attack. And the stealth is really weird because you get to see all the field of vision of the enemies and you have to kind of tiptoe around them while using the terrain to navigate and go under buildings and over buildings and down ladders. And I found it to be extremely tedious because there's probably half a dozen stealth missions. And every time I did one, I was like, are you kidding me? Another one? I just hated it. And that was the worst part for me. I didn't like the stealth stuff just because I'm like, just let me get in there and beat the crap out of them. Especially when you're going back to lower levels. You're like, I'll one-shot all these things. Let me go back in here.
Yeah, that's the problem with RPGs. Real quick, Shane.
Go ahead.
That's the problem with RPGs and this is the same, talking about stealth. This is the same throughout all the RPGs I've ever played. RPGs should never have stealth. That's just it right there, because stealth can never be implemented correctly in an RPG. So they should just never have it.
No, absolutely right. I agree with Pat. To me, the stealth, and I don't like pretty much anything about the game, but the stealth aspect was the worst. As soon as you got to the little tutorial spot, it's like, what the hell? And, you like Pat said, you cannot, even if you could take the guys, you can't do it. You got caught, you got hurt. It's such a force aspect of the game that really just makes no sense.
It makes you reset the whole scenario session too. Yep. Like as soon as you start, no matter even if you make it to like the halfway point of the stealth, if you get caught, it puts you all the way back to the beginning and have to do it all over. And it was many times where I was like, this is going to end it for me, guys. But I made it through.
You've been spotted.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, because it forces you in some of the later missions to go back to the beginner area. And you have to stealth through that stuff. And you're just like, nothing in here is going to hurt me, guys. Let me just take on all 6 or 12 of them or however many they are. We'll just wipe them out. I'll wipe the floor with them because I'm one-shotting all of them when I do have to go to combat.
Yeah. That's such a forced thing. And I hate forced stealth. I don't know why they still do that after all these years. They still take a game and they shove a stealth aspect into it. It just makes no sense, especially when somebody had to play test this thing and approve of it. Oh, hey, great job, boss. You asshole. Putting this in here. It's stupid.
Well, like I said, RPGs should just not have stealth. That's just the thing. Stealth in an RPG, especially like maybe, especially when it's a turn-based JRPG, those can't do stealth well, and it just doesn't work very well in an RPG anyway. So just don't include that in general for any RPG. Not just this one, but none of them.
Yeah. Another thing that bothered me about this game is the fan service of the character designs. And I know Pat's got agreement with me on this. Basically, it's hours upon hours of trying not to look at boobs. Because every character is a typical busty anime teenage girl. But these all have dead eyes, so. But I don't know. The character body models were all kind of the same to me. You had the one tiny one, and then the rest of them were, look at my boobs, and you unlock the bathing suits in it. And it's like, hey, that's cool. Let me check it out. Oh crap. My kid walked in. Turn it off. That really bugged me. I did not care for that. I'm a big anime fan. I love anime. And I think a character design has to be unique for each anime, for each character. And a lot of shows do great jobs of that. A lot of games do great jobs of that. And this game here, it was the same character almost with everybody, just a different face and a different set of dead eyes. That was one thing I really had a problem with too. And don't get me wrong, I like pretty girls, but these are just, they're really cliche, really just typical. And I don't like that.
Yeah, the game does get a little bit on the creep factor, a little bit, I would say, because if a game can make you go, I don't want anybody to see me playing this, if I'm doing a certain aspect of the game, then it should go, they need to tone the fan service down, because Shane's exactly right. Like, you unlock the bikini costume for him, and I put him in the bikini costume, and I'm like, this makes me feel really creepy. So they immediately went back off of the bikinis and back into their regular clothes, and I'm just like, this is weird. Why is it even in here? And it's fan service, as Shane said. So they went back into their normal high school outfits after they unlocked it. I'm like, let's not do this. This is weirding me out a little bit. So it's very much fan service. But outside of that, I really enjoyed the game. Like I said, the story, like Nick had said too, the story is really good. There's crafting. There's, if you want to call it team building, they call it strengthening bonds in the game. You build out the academy, make the school better by building things like food stands and vending machines and bonfires and just all kinds of random stuff, pianos to make it better. And those build outs give you stat boosts like attack and defense. And then they also have these, I can't remember the term what they use. They were like combo effects. So if you have these 2 or 3 buildings together, they give you a secondary boost. So it's really kind of cool to build that out. You go out and get materials and you build that stuff out. And then, as Nick mentioned, the battle system and then the Sailor Moon style reflector form stuff was really cool. I mean, the combat, in my opinion, is really good. It does get a little repetitive, but that's why you swap out characters out and try them out. The only bad thing about that, and I don't know if you noticed this too, Nick, was the combat. The characters that are sidelined don't gain no XP. So they gain no XP. So if you pick them up at 12 and you're 23, they're 12. So
but that's
bad.
Still kind of typical, though. If you don't play a character, they're not going to develop.
Especially for a JRPG, that's a typical thing.
A lot of RPGs, though, if the parties are in the secondary or ready slots, they gain a percentage of the XP, not absolutely zilch. Because if you want to go in and play with these other characters, obviously you can't swap out. I don't think you can swap out AO. I never tried. But that's supposed to be.
I think you can, because there is. Well, I don't know if you can swap her out, but you can change the main.
Yeah, you can switch main, but I don't think you can get rid of her.
I don't know.
I never tried.
She's kind of like the main protagonist. So
right. The combat is interesting in this one, and I don't know if I got anything to compare it to. But as Nick alluded, they call it like a gear system, where the higher your gear is, the faster you gain the combat resource. And what do they call? I can't remember what they called the. You remember what they called the like material that you're building up? It's like a bar of ether or something like that. Yeah. You start out where it's really slow and your character can only get up to ether 1, which allows you to expend an ability that costs 1,000 ether. And then you build up another one where you can get to level 2 and you can spend up to 2,000 ether, and then 3 and 4 and so on. And it's just an interesting concept. And you're trying to manage your position, right? Because all your characters are gaining ether at different rates while the enemy's also gaining it. And so basically you're trying to get to a position 1. Like I said, it's rank 1, 2, 3, or 4, how much ether you gain, and expendability. So it's like build up and then expend. And And then the enemy is also building down. So as soon as they hit 1 from the top, I believe 5 is the top. As soon as they hit 1, they attack. So you're trying to do as much damage as you can to try to mitigate how many times they attack you. Because as Nick said, it's unforgiving. And the first girl in your party, she can heal, but that expends one of her attacks if you have to heal because it costs ether. And there is a girl later on in game that can heal group. She can heal the group and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But the combat, in my opinion, was the thing that got to me, that held my interest, because it was like, okay, cool. What's this enemy do? Oh, crap. This guy's going to do a massive attack. And if you take one of the massive attacks, it lowers your combo points down. So that's how much damage you do. The more combo points you build up, it's a damage modifier. So there's a lot to this game. And as Shane mentioned earlier, there's a stealth thing where if you attack them from behind when you're stealth, it will allow them to get in a down state quicker. So they start with this debuff that every time you hit them, it does a knockdown, like builds them up to a knockdown. If you knock them down, they don't build any ether for a little short time until you beat the crap out of them. So I love the combat in it. That was probably one of my favorite parts, was the combat.
Yeah, I thought you would probably be I thought you would only like the combat. I'll honestly surprised you like it as much as you do. The combat, I don't know. I really don't like the combat. I do like the gear system though. I thought that was interesting because you got to decide, do I want to go for a small hit and try to, stop the enemy attack, because you can do that. Or you can let it build up and try to go for a heavy attack and just beat ass. And that's probably the most interesting thing about the combat. One thing I want to jump back to, though, is what you were talking about when you try to get with another character and you build up your relationship, the bond. What was that one called? I can't remember in this.
That's
version.
called bond, building your bond.
Is it just building your bond?
Yeah, but they call it dating. They talk about go on a date is what they call it in the game. But then it's increasing your bond, strengthening your bond, because you and your team don't get TP, which I can't remember what that stood for off the top of my head. But you build TP, and TP is what you expend to buy abilities, and you only get that by having going on those dates and strengthening the bond between characters of yourself and the party. You get levels as you go out and do combat, but those levels just increase your stats. They don't give you new abilities. They don't do any of that stuff. Abilities come from earning bond. So increasing your bond and spending that TP to buy abilities and stuff like that. And your support characters have some awesome ones, like the Yuzi girl gives you like plus 40 and plus 30 to your ether generation and stuff like that. And that means you start out right out of the gate being able to do an attack. So.
Right. And then you also have that. I think that's tactical points. I think that's what TP is. You also have the fragments, which you can unlock with those bonds. You get new fragments. These are just bonuses that you can apply to your girls, and they can have certain fragment points. You can also use your TP to unlock additional fragment point or slots to put new TP or those fragments into. And then you have talents, and then talents are basically your support characters and your fighters all get points, and again through the bonding, and like Patrick was saying, and then you can use those to unlock like additional raise your combat, your attack power, raise your health, or raise recovery item, or crafting, or whatever the case may be, as long as you have enough TP to unlock.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's like 4 different types of tactical points or talent points, whatever you want to call them. I think the TP is tactical or talent points, one of the two.
It could be talent points.
But
that's true.
Each of them have like 4. There's 4 tabs under each character, and you progressively unlock them as you go through the story. And then obviously characters that are unlocked later in the game, you build up the TP quicker with them because there's less to do. But the game is really interesting. Like, I like to be able to cycle between the heartscapes and go back and do missions in there, then go forward. Because sometimes you run into some of those hardscapes that are really difficult. Like, there's enemies in there that are above your level that you can beat, but they're going to suck the crap out of all your health and all your consumables that help you survive in that real world. So I don't know how else to explain it. It's got a little bit of everything. If you like it's not quite turn-based combat, but it is. It's like reactive turn-based, if you will, almost. And then if you like RP and story, there's a lot of it. I will admit there was parts where I was just like, let me just hit the button and get through this. I've heard enough RP for the last hour, because you come back to school and all these girls want you to build new buildings at the school. And every time you build one, they're like, let's go check it out and let's have lunch under the tree. Let's try this photo booth out. Let's go to the tea cafe. And you're just like, I'm ready to do some fighting here now. Come on, girls. Let's go.
Yeah. They almost make a damn dating sim in this thing. And, like full on. The reason I brought up the dates is I've noticed more and more and more over the last several years, the more Japanese RPGs we play, that character bonding with your sub characters is becoming very, very more and more prevalent. The Tells game we just reviewed a while back, that was very heavy. You could really, bond with characters. Yakuza, all the Yakuza especially, you go do all sorts of crazy crap with your friends. They did a much better job, I think, than the date thing for this one. To me, it felt more like a damn dating simulator. I just wanted to get that out there because it was one of those things that I do enjoy the bonding stuff if done right. It's really interesting. Yakuza may have ruined it for me because Yakuza has just such great dialogue and things like that when you're doing character bonding and building together. You can sit and have drinks, play darts or whatever in Yakuza. This one here is more like, am I going to get in your drawers tonight? I mean, it's really what it felt like. None of it clicked with me. I think that's my biggest problem is nothing really in this game clicked with me.
Sounds like you don't like the game, Shane.
Well, now that you bring that up.
It sounds more like Shane had expectations that didn't really pan out in this game. Shane was expecting a little bit more dating sim and a little bit more upskirt shots than what he got.
I would have preferred more upskirt shots than the dating sim stuff, be honest. No, I read about the game when we decided to play it. I read a little bit what's on the box and blah, 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 and then I fired it up and it was, I don't know. Maybe it's because I was burned on the last game, which was my fault because I didn't get hardly any time to get into it and I had to skip a bunch of crap. The Shin Megami Tensei 5, and I felt bad about that. So I really thought this would make up for it because I had time to play and blah, blah, blah. So it could be me, but no, it's not. This game sucks. And I'll be honest, I would probably go $5 in the bargain bin at the most, knowing what I know now. But beautiful cover art, still have dead eyes.
Well, all right. Patrick, you got anything else you want to say about the game before we end this?
No, I would just say if you think you might like this one, I believe it was a $60 game, wasn't it? But there's a demo out there. So if you might be interested in it, there's a demo. So you can try the demo. Yeah, it's $60 game is what I paid for it. So, and I think it's a full price buy for me. I liked it and I will probably go through and try to wrap it up. But I would pay full price for it. And if you're somewhat interested in it, go out there and try the demo. You can't go wrong with the demo. It's free.
That's right. Yep. And there's a demo out there. So definitely that's how I got interested in it because I played the demo and I was like, I like this. And so
that's the whole reason why we actually reviewed this game because it wasn't on our radar. We talked about it, but we actually picked something else. And then Nick's like, I really like this game. I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot.
Yep. And when I bought it, they sent me 2 copies. So I gave one to Shane. So that's how Shane got his copy. So he didn't even buy
got a
free
Christmas
copy.
to me.
I got an early Christmas present. I will say, Shane, did you have anything left to say? I think you said enough, but do you have anything left to say? You clearly don't like this game, but do you have anything you want to add?
Play the demo. Just because I have severe dislike for the game, play the demo, check it out. This is my opinion. That is all.
He's getting old, dick. All right. Well, I will say that Gust, this developer, if you're thinking about buying this game physical, no, not digital, because you can buy it online on the store digitally, and that's not a problem. But physically, pick it up before it goes away because their games do not stay in stores for very long. Blue Reflection didn't come out too long before this one, the very first one, and you cannot find that one in store. And it is, if you want to buy it, it's not cheap now.
Because they're the burn barrel.
And they have other games. I bought another one by them as well. And the first and second is the first and second edition of the game, or there's 1 and 2. There's sequels of that one as well. And I got the second one, and my first one won't be here until sometime in mid-December. And I don't even know if you can buy the first one anymore. Maybe you can still buy the second one physically, but the first one, that might have been like the last of the copies there. So this developer seems to have a short run in stores, but online you can buy them all. They are all there. So just letting you know, if you like that physical edition, go out and get it before it goes away. But anyway, one last thing, I guess, before we go, I do like it. I think it's worth picking up. I think it's worth the time. But again, there is a demo out there, so try out the demo, see if it's worth your time. But anyway, that's it for us. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure to hit like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with all the videos that we do. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.